Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. So today in this video I'm going to be responding to the brutal murder of George Floyd. So recently I've been trying to educate myself as much as possible, particularly in regards to the racism within the UK because that is where I live. And I've been trying to become, I'm trying to make my mindset as anti-racist as possible. Obviously this is just a start. I'm going to continue to educate myself and read up on the issue because I want to be as aware as possible and I want to support the black community as much as I possibly can. So during this video I'm going to be talking about a few things. Firstly, I'm going to discuss the racism within the UK and kind of where it all stemmed from. So I did GCSE history and one of the components was Britain, migration, people and the empire. And in this topic we looked at the slave trade and we looked at how Britain colonised many nations. And it was crazy to think that Britain pretty much is the cause of all racism in the world today. Britain and its kind of obsession with imperialism led to them invading a quarter of the world, disregarding the indigenous people and destroying their lives. For example, in Australia, the indigenous people, the Aboriginal people, still struggle to obtain their ancient history, culture and recognition, all because of Britain's invasion of Australia in 1788. Aboriginal land was taken over by British colonists on the premise that the land belonged to no one, even though the Aboriginal people had been living there and were living there at the time. In the 1967 Australian referendum, Aboriginal people were finally allowed to be counted in the Australian census, which takes place every 5 years. So finally allowed to be counted as part of the Australian population. Now, let's talk about the slave trade. I read a really great article, which I will link down below in the description box, from Dazed, outlining the British involvement with the slave trade. So the English were the first people to bring enslaved Africans to the Virginia colony in America in 1619. The slaves taken to America by Britain were only granted emancipation in 1865 and only given full civil rights in 1964. The practice of the slave trade was abolished in 1833. However, Britain was still paying off borrowed money to compensate the slave owners up until 5 years ago. In 2015, the money was finally paid off, which British taxpayers contributed to. Then from the 19th to the mid-20th century, Britain was heavily involved in the colonisation of Africa, with the British believing in their own cultural and societal superiority. And that is obviously the root of all racism. And Britain had this idea that they were superior to many cultures and many races and all the indigenous people when they colonised India and Africa and then even Australia and America. They disregarded the indigenous people completely because they thought they were superior. They thought their race was superior. And that is still ingrained in the British society today. Just like in America, black people are killed or rendered disabled at the hands of British police or immigration officers. The names of some of these black people include Mark Duggan, Sean Rigg, Sarah Reed, Cherry Gross, Leon Briggs, Christopher Alder, and Brian Douglas, just to name a few. Not since 1971 has a British police officer been prosecuted for the killing of a black man. And even when they were charged with the lesser crime of manslaughter, which was then later dropped. The situation here in the UK is just as the same in America. Black men are stopped and searched 9 times the rate of white men. To draw a comparison between George Floyd and a death that occurred in England, we can look to the death of Sean Rigg. In 2008, Sean Rigg died at the entrance of a police station in London, in Brixton. And he was killed by, he was pinned to the ground and police officers piled on top of his body, suffocating him. He was then thrown into a van and taken to the police station and left to die at the entrance of a police station. It makes me think that if Sean Rigg was a white man, would he have been treated the same way? Evidently not. Now, let's talk about why Black Lives Matter. Of course, all lives matter, but Black lives don't matter to a lot of people and haven't mattered enough for forever. It is time for change. Black lives have to matter to everyone and should be deemed worthy of life. The police shouldn't be able to kill Black lives and get away with it. Ehis said in his video, which I will also link down below, which was really good, and it was titled Why the Term All Lives Matter is a Load of Rubbish. He said that not all lives are suffering, not all lives are being killed, not all lives are in danger from society. That is why Black Lives Matter, because Black people are suffering, Black people are being killed, and Black people are constantly in danger. So what can we do as white people to make sure that Black lives matter? Well, we need to talk. We need to have these discussions. We need to sign petitions, donate money, and educate ourselves. White people can't ignore this. We need to take a stand and join Black people in solidarity to explicitly help them make Black lives matter. As James Corden said in one of his videos, which again will be linked in the description box, how can the Black community dismantle a problem that they didn't create? White people created this problem. White people created racism. So white people have to take responsibility, and we have to dismantle this problem. So please talk, sign petitions, donate money, and educate yourselves. I have left numerous links down below in the description box of articles and YouTube videos that I've been reading and watching to educate myself. And please, please do that yourself, because it might take 5 minutes to read an article or 20 minutes maximum to watch a video. So that's honestly, the least thing that you can do is just take 5 minutes out of your day to read an article and educate yourself on this issue, because it is so, so important for our community and our society. So I'd like to finish this video off by talking about how to be anti-racist. It's not just enough to stand by and let racism happen. We have to be actively anti-racist. Therefore, call out your friends or family members if they say something racist. Support anti-racist organisations. Write to your MP. Don't stand by and let racism continue. Be actively anti-racist. I will also link a really great article by CNN on how to be anti-racist down below, which taught me a lot, and I urge you to please read it and educate yourself. Honestly, it is the least that we as white people can do. Educate yourself. So that is all I have to say for now. Thank you very much for listening, and please take on board everything that I have said. This is just a starting point for me. I'm going to continue to educate myself and research and get books to help the Black community as much as possible. Because we can never, as white people, we can never feel the pain or go through the same experiences that Black people have gone through. So we need to support them as best as possible and become aware and be fully aware of the history of Black people and figure out, why we need to make a stand, because Black lives do matter. So please remember to check out the links that I've taken below. It is the least that we can do. And talk to your friends, talk to your family, sign petitions, donate money if you can, and please educate yourself.